Hello, everyone. Today, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about a law that I would like to see be changed in South Carolina. And the law that I would like to see be changed involves the methods allowed for euthanization in South Carolina. So, according to Section 47-3 420, dogs and cats, except animals under 16 weeks of age, may be killed by bottled carbon monoxide administered in a tightly enclosed gas chamber. And first of all, let me just say there are many issues with this specific law. Unfortunately, euthanization is seen as a necessary evil. Overcrowding in shelters often leaves employees with no choice other than to dispose of an animal if they're running out of room and resources. And this is a very sad reality, but sometimes there's just no other financially feasible choice. But what is in our control is how a shelter goes about euthanizing an animal. Um, Euthanization using carbon monoxide is a very stressful and scary process for an animal, and they are placed in a tightly enclosed box where carbon monoxide is pumped into, and it's not one of the most painless ways for an animal to go. And in addition to this, using carbon monoxide is not very safe for humans to be around because it is a colorless and odorless gas. So if there was a mistake being made, it could also hurt an employee. Um, but according to the Humane Society's article, Bringing an End to Inhumane Euthanasia, South Carolina is one of only 5 states that uses a loophole to allow carbon monoxide gas chambers to still be used in their shelters. 27 other states have outright bans on gas chambers in their shelters, and then 13 other states have voluntarily shut down their gas chambers. And all of these other states are setting a really good example of what we should be doing. And changing this law would definitely be moving us in the right direction. Another reason is, according to the American Veteran Medical Association, euthanization by injection is the most humane method possible that we have right now. And euthanization by injection is a very less stressful and less painful way to put an animal down. And oftentimes, the amount of stress an animal goes through is not considered as much as pain an animal will go through. And so, stress-free euthanization is often really overlooked. But we want to move towards making euthanization both stress-free and pain-free. And now you may be asking yourself, if other states are outlawing this method of euthanization by carbon monoxide, and there's a less stressful and less painful way to euthanize an animal, why is South Carolina still using gas chambers? And this is a question that doesn't really have an answer, but it could be resolved by changing this law. Making the decision to end an animal's life is a really hard one, and it definitely should not be taken lightly. And according to Section 47-3-60, disposition of quarantine or impounded animals, Part C states that after any animal has been impounded for 5 calendar days, they may be disposed of by adoption or euthanization. And 5 days is just simply not enough time for an owner to collect their missing pet or animal. And 5 days also doesn't allow the animal to be given a chance to get adopted. And using carbon monoxide is a terrible way to end an animal's life. And on top of that, they don't get a fair chance to either be reclaimed or adopted. And lastly, I decided to conduct my own survey to determine what the people in our community actually think right now. 28% of the people who I surveyed said they don't disagree with euthanization, but 79% of them agreed that carbon monoxide is not a humane way of putting an end to an animal's life. This just goes to show that people in our community don't agree with the laws that are in place. And the laws that are written and passed are supposed to represent what the majority of people think and believe. But according to my survey, this is just not the case. So I want to say thank you all for listening to my thoughts, and I would like to open up a little discussion to get y'all's opinions and thoughts.
I had a question about other states that don't use carbon monoxide. Do you know how many like states do that and like what it looks like, what else they use?
So right now there were 13 states where they voluntarily shut down their gas chambers. So there's no law that's in place, but just like through the studies that I like explained, like it's not a very humane way. So 13 states outlawed them like just like on their own voluntarily, and then 27 other states have written laws that completely like you're not allowed to use it at all. And so in those states, it's either they mostly have no kill shelters or they use like different methods such as like injection. Any other questions?
Carolina hasn't already implemented this,
Wait,
or
can you repeat that? Sorry, you got cut off in the
you
beginning.
know if there's like already a bill or in progress, or like why South Carolina hasn't already implemented this law.
Well, I couldn't really find a reason why that our law isn't changed, which didn't make sense to me because there are so many other states that don't use carbon monoxide. So that was kind of a question that I was left wondering too, like why have we not changed? There's no current like bill that I found, but there are like tons of organizations like the Humane Society that are just like actively working from the outside trying to get things changed. But as of right now, I don't believe that there's anything going on the inside that's trying to change this law. And then one question I had for you guys was obviously like outlawing all types of euthanization, it would be like way more expensive for a shelter. So a question I had was, would you guys be willing to pay slightly higher taxes in order for an animal to have a longer stay in a shelter or just to be like completely outlawed? Like what are your thoughts on that?
I'd probably be fine with it. I think that like it would help them out. So I feel like if that's the best we can do and that's all it is, then I don't see a problem with it.
Yeah, and I understand because according to my survey, there were a good amount of people who don't disagree with euthanization, but the methods they like greatly disagreed with the methods that we're using. And even just like extending the stay a little bit longer would also help out so much. There are other states where it's 5 business days instead of 5 calendar days, like it is in South Carolina. So this doesn't, the business days don't include weekends. That wouldn't count as like a day for an animal to be in a shelter. But in South Carolina, it's 5 calendar days. So regardless of weekends, holidays, anything. So there's just really not a lot of time for them. Wait, I can't hear you, Parker. Sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't pay my taxes, so like obviously I can't really speak on if I would like want them to be like my parents pay my taxes, but I think that my parents would be willing to pay extra because like we have animals, and like I think that if it's I think majority of people like have animals, so I feel like majority of people would be willing to raise taxes because we already get taxed for so much. So yeah.
I agree. Okay,
Um,
well, thank you.
oh,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
sorry. I actually had another question kind of about like maybe an alternative with like nonprofit shelters. Is that kind of like help as well, or would it have to be something that would be like taxes to help?
Well, all of the laws right now are for public and private shelters.
Okay.
So it's not private shelters can like decide more of what they want to do, but for like public shelters, like it's just a blanket law for any of them. Like even if a humane society, who I believe is no kill, they could like implement these laws because it's just a blanket for all public and private shelters. But yeah, thank you guys for listening. I really appreciate it. Bye.